At the moment we're going to pray for Messy Church, both through a craft activity and then in small groups. But I want to give you a bit of an insight into what this first Sunday is going to look like. I'm going to stand here because I'm trying to record this so that everyone else who isn't here can do that. So if it looks strange that I'm just trying to stand in one place, that's why. Hello, everyone who isn't here. It's very unnatural for me to try and stay in one place, but I'll give it a go. If you were around in May and June at our Vision Sundays, you'll have heard a little bit about the vision behind Messy Church and Simple Worship. And if you haven't heard that, you can go back and listen. But I'm just going to sort of summarise a little bit of that for you. Um, Under our vision of gather and go, gathering God's presence, be transformed by the Holy Spirit and go to love and serve, talked about continuing to press into a culture of invitation and discipleship, inviting others to come and experience our church family and experience God's love and his presence and power. And that can take lots of different forms. I shared this idea of an invitation pathway where we can just connect with people in our streets, in our workplaces, that we can invite them to come to church or to church events. But then also, particularly where Messy Church and Simple Worship comes in, is this idea of inviting people into space where they can come and explore what Jesus could mean for them. And Messy Church is a key part of that, of giving a different format to our normal Sunday morning gatherings at Parkside, which will continue weeks 2, 3, and 4. So we really felt God was calling us to create these new spaces for people to explore faith. Space where it's easy for people to come to, both physically and culturally. And we believe that Messy Church is one of those ways. If you haven't come across Messy Church before, it exists as a thought of a brand, a bit like Grow Kids, started in one particular church and they've allowed that idea to spread. And so we're going to adopt that. And I guess it's a church service, a church gathering, but in quite an informal way, where people gather together around crafts and games. There's often a song that's probably more accessible for younger people, like Great Big God, that some of you will know. And both the songs, short talk, the crafts are all based around biblical theme. And we've got a set of resources from Messy Church that fantastically cover a whole, essentially, discipleship course that take people through from the basics of not knowing anything about God to how to follow Jesus. And so for the first 12 Sundays, we're going to be following that course. And it's also going to include space for people to have lunch together. So it's going to be a chance for people to experience our church community, but also to experience Jesus. And we particularly wanted to do that in North Cambridge here, because that's where a lot of the families that we're coming into contact with through Grow Kids and Mum to Mum live. And for some of them, getting over to Parkside on a Sunday morning, they haven't got a car, they've got to use public transport, they've got to take kids there. That can be a challenge. So we wanted to make it easier for those families to come to somewhere that's located near them. And we're ideally located here, halfway between Aikman Street, where we do our Monday drop-in, and the Vineyard Centre, where we do our Friday drop-in, and where people currently experience Cambridge Vineyard. So this is going to be the space for our new gathered environment that we'll be having on the first Sunday of every month instead of Community Sundays. It's also going to have that advantage of people will know where we are every first Sunday, rather than being in different places, which can be challenging for some people to find us. And we really believe God's led us to this place. It's certainly been a bit of a journey. Thank you for those of you who've journeyed with us and prayed with us on that. You will know that we tried every single community centre and school in North Cambridge. And discovered both the good news and the bad news that all of them already have churches in them. I've just gone and met Fiona from All Nations Church, who are meeting over there at the moment, and introduce myself. There's Bethsaida, who are meeting upstairs. And that was the case in every place around it. So we started to wonder, well, what are you saying, God? And as we talked about at Vision Sunday, getting the sense that God was challenging us. Are we willing to let God mess up our nice, neat Sunday morning patterns? And if he said, do it some other time, possibly might be more convenient for other people, were we willing? And so on behalf of the church, I had to say to God, yes, we are. We'll do that. If it's inconvenient for us, but part of your plans, we'll go for it. So because this was our preferred place, I messaged Meadows and said, look, can we have this Sunday afternoon? And they emailed back and said, well, we'd rather you had it Sunday morning. And I emailed back and said, what? You told us that we couldn't have Sunday morning because you've already got churches here. And they said, yes, but we've got the children's and family wing that we've not rented out before, because when we do, toys get damaged. They said, but we're just creating a new storage area for that, so we want to start renting it out. Would you come and rent it out? We said, oh, okay then, if you insist. So we came down here and checked it out. And as you can see, I mean, this is a nursery during the week, and so for a family-based event, this is a lovely space. And so that's how we've ended up here. We feel that we've tried to be as open as we can to where God has opened up space, and this is it. And so this is where we're going to be doing messy church and simple worship on that first Sunday. So for those of you who haven't experienced messy church before, messy church is a worship gathering that aims to enable anyone, wherever they are on their faith journey, to experience God in an informal and accessible way. And there are sort of 4 key principles behind messy church. One is creativity. God is a creative God and made in his image. We're creative people. So it uses hands-on activities to explore Bible stories alongside worship songs like Great Big God or Small Talk. All different ways for people to encounter God. Secondly, it's aimed at all ages. So anyone of any age can come and take part. It's for adults and children to enjoy being together, and we aim to make every element of it relevant and accessible to all ages. So you don't have to be a child or a family to come along and enjoy it, but we do recognise that it is particularly suited for children and families. Thirdly, it is Jesus-centred. It is a church gathering. It's not a craft club. And the aim of it is to use these things to help people discover and encounter God. And the 4th principle behind it is around hospitality. You know, we want the way that we welcome people to reflect God's unconditional love. And so Messy Church will particularly look to welcome people who wouldn't normally go to church, as well as those who do. So we want this to be an oasis of welcome and a safe space for people to come and encounter God. And so as a result of that, at the end of Messy Church, we'll be providing a sandwich lunch, and we'll provide that free for anyone who signs up for Messy Church. And so Messy Church will start 11 o'clock every Sunday. There'll be a welcome, snack, song like Great Big God, then some craft activities and a short talk. And then we'll finish with that sandwich lunch, which will start at about 12:15. But that lunch is also anyone else from Cambridge Vineyard Church, or from outside if you want to people, can come and join that. We hope that's going to be a community lunch, that not just people who come to Messy Church, but anyone else from Cambridge Vineyard who wants to come and have a church family lunch together can bring their own sandwiches and come and join in from that, from 12:15 to 12:45. And if you do that, then that will prepare you perfectly for simple worship that's going to kick off here at 1 o'clock. And that's going to be a worship gathering. I guess the most similar thing we can think of is upper room worship that we've done before, or Catholic Church. It's going to be, as it says, simple worship. So acoustic worship like Daniel led us in this morning. The aim is to make it simple as possible, so we're not putting teams together like we do on a Sunday morning. Any teams that emerge will emerge from people just coming and wanting to get involved. But so again, we're not planning to have refreshments other than that lunch that you bring for yourself. There won't be a talk. It'll just be a time from 1 till 2 o'clock to worship, pray together, and minister for each other. And as we said earlier, I hope that everyone will feel welcome to Messy Church. But I also recognise that for some of you, Messy Church might not be your preferred form of worship gathering. So that means that with simple worship, there's also another worship gathering that you can engage with on a Sunday morning. And so you can either come for the whole thing, turn up at 11 and do Messy Church till 12:15, stay for lunch and do simple worship, or you can just come for Messy Church, or you can just come for simple worship. Plenty of options there, all fantastic ways to encounter God and his church community. And so we'd love for you to join in with that. Thanks to some of you who have already expressed an interest in being part of Messy Church team. And so there are really two ways that you can get involved. One is come and see Jude and I and say, yeah, we'd love to be part of the team, particularly from Messy Church. I'll say there's no planned team for simple worship, but if you did want to come and say, I'd like to be involved in some way, our worship leaders have agreed to resource it in terms of worship leaders, and they'll be talking to their bands about whether they want to get involved in that or not. So we have the main thing that we need, which is worship. Anything else will be a moment. But we'd particularly love for people to come and get involved in Messy Church. It will take more than just Jude and I in order to run that. As I say, thank you for those that have already stuck your hand up. But if you'd like to get involved, there'll be an email coming out soon, probably this week, saying, would you like to join in the team? And as ever, we'll find a role for anyone. Perhaps you like greeting people. Perhaps you like working behind the scenes and not up front. Perhaps you might like getting involved and helping organise a craft activity. Then we'll find a place for you. Just come and let us know that you are interested. But if you don't want to be part of the team, you can just turn up. And that's the second way that you can join in, is just turn up either at Messy Church or with simple worship. Commit to being at one of the first Sunday of the month Vineyard worship gathering. It's a space for you to worship and experience God. But it's also a space where you can invite other people. So that's what Messy Church and simple worship is. Does anyone have any questions about that? Because I recognise it's slightly different to what we've been doing in the past.
Do we normally go to the Vineyard, sign up, and then can they expect free lunch?
I know, if you sign up to Messy Church, we'll feed you. Yes, good point. Yeah. Yeah, so anyone who comes to Messy Church will be entitled to sign up for the lunch, and that will include the team. If you're not coming to Messy Church, then we encourage you to bring your own lunch when you come on. And just logistically, that will make life easier for everyone. But we do want people to feel if they don't come to Messy Church, they can bring their own sandwiches along. Great question. Thank you, Haley. Any other questions? No.